Ba-dum bum bum ba-dum. 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 Ba-dum bum bum ba-dum.
Pretty women are walking with gorillas down my street.
Ba-dum. Ba-dum bum 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 ba.
Is she really going out with him?
Okay, hey, BOOZHOO, and welcome back to BOOZHOO, NANABOOZHOO, a podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am NANABOOZHOO, and over here, the lovely and talented Natasha. Ekadon Bojo Inimushain. Say hello, sweetheart.
BOOZHOO, everybody!
And today, our Ojibwe word of the day. Nishime. My younger brother. Little brother. Nishime. You know, a lot of people, they know the word niji. Oh yeah, that's the Ojibwe word for brother. But there's a lesser known term, nishime, would be like your younger brother. So like, you can still call somebody your brother, but if they're younger than you, you'd call them your nishime. And if they're a younger sister, you'd say nimise. Nishime, nimise. Little brother, little sister. And, you know what else? Yesterday we were telling the story of Mary and Jesus. And I wanted to say that Mary's friend Ruth got pregnant with John the Baptist. But it turns out it's Elizabeth. So thank you for writing in and telling us who, that Bible lady was. I've heard a lot of the stories from the Bible. And I've read a little bit, but I can't remember. So it turns out that John the Baptist, Elizabeth had a son same time that Jesus was born, named John the Baptist. And he was like this crazy, wild man in the desert who was foretelling. He was a prophet. He said the Son of God will come. And when Jesus showed up, John the Baptist actually, he baptized Jesus. And you know how like in church they say, in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, you are baptized or whatever. What did John the Baptist say when he baptized Jesus? To your daddy, yourself, and your best friend? I don't know.
Yeah.
What else? Bible stories. So John the Baptist eventually gets his head cut off. I forget the details, but it was like a king and a daughter. And he goes, hey, honey, I'll do anything you want. I'll grant one wish. And she goes, I want John the Baptist's head on a platter. On a silver platter.
Hikes.
And the king was like, oh, geez, what did I say? Hikes. And I forget why, but John the Baptist, he spent some time in jail and he got his head cut off. It wasn't easy for him either. But, you know who I feel sorry for, speaking of little brothers. Speaking of Shimei-wug. Turns out Jesus had a little brother, James. James. And you know how like little brothers, they kind of have to live in the shadow of their big brothers? I made an old joke that Sam Kinison once made about, how'd you like to be Jesus' brother and constantly compared with him? And your mom would always be like, why can't you be more like your brother? Why can't you be more like Jesus? Well, because he's the Messiah. How about that? But then, what's also tough about being James, is, in the Bible, so Jesus goes to the wedding feast. And the first miracle he creates is turning water into wine. You know, and so the party's going on. They run out of wine, and so Jesus turns water into wine, and he saves the party. Well, what they don't talk about is the next weekend there was another wedding feast. Only by this time Jesus had left, but James was still there. And so same thing. They drink up all the wine and they're like, "Hey, James, you know your brother last week. He really did a solid for us. You think you can help us out here?" And James is like, "Come on, I can't do that." He goes, "Oh, come on, do something. Your brother made it into wine, and you can make it into something." He's always disappointing people in comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know. And like little brothers always follow their older brothers. They do whatever, you know. There must have been at least one point there where James almost drowned. And Jesus had to like walk out there. "Hey, come on." So I wonder if Jesus practiced all his miracles on James, you know, before he went public. You know, did he have to heal James every time James, you know, got torn up trying to keep up with his older brother? You know, I mean, what was it like to play Jesus in sports? You know, James, you know, would just no match for him in basketball and that. Jesus could always just way out jump him. Never missed. You know. James. Poor old James. And you can guess it didn't get any better after the crucifixion. Because you know how like when somebody passes away and nobody can say a bad word about him. Mm-hmm. You know, it was probably just like that movie Ordinary People. Where what was that guy's name? He was in the Outsiders. C. Thomas Howell. His brother dies, and then the whole family's depressed, and you know he feels like they wish he had been the one to die, and that his older brother had lived. You know, so like afterwards, every family gathering, you know, be like, "Oh, if only Jesus were here now," you know. And James has to just live with it. "Yeah, I know. He was the favorite." Whatever. And then there was that moment, you know, there's not much written about Jesus when he was a boy. Mm-hmm. When he was 12, I guess. Mary and Joseph lose him at the market. You know, he's just gone. And this is before the days when the lady could just go, "Attention, we got a lost child here," you know. And so, you know, that must have been embarrassing for Joseph. Because, you know, right away they would have prayed. And so it'd be like calling up the real parent. And you're like the foster dad. And be like, "Yeah, dear God, you know how you entrusted me with your only son? I'm supposed to keep an eye out for him and that? Well, we came to the market, and geez, I got just distracted, and I turned around for one. I was on my phone for just a minute. It was weird. You know, and boom, he was gone. We've been looking around everywhere, and then finally, you know, he walks into the temple, and there's Jesus, reading from the scriptures or something, talking to all these old men, you know. And Joseph's just mad because, "Hey, you know, I know you're a big shot around here, but you're still my kid. You live under my roof. You have to obey my rules. You can't just run off like this." And Jesus is like, "Well, why didn't you come to the temple? You should have known where I was." "Yeah, don't talk back to your dad. You're not my real dad." 12-year-old Jesus. "You're not my real dad." You know, was Jesus rebellious at 12?
I don't know.
I imagine if they had Star Wars, Jesus would have been way into Star Wars. He probably really liked the Jedi stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's why he dressed like that. He's trying to look like what's his name? That Jedi. Obi-Wan. So yeah. Anyway, that was just some of my thoughts. I stole most of those jokes from this comedian I saw this morning called Michael Jr. maybe? I don't know. He was a Christian comic. And you think, oh, that's going to be terrible. What kind of jokes can a Christian comic possibly make? And man, he was hilarious. Check him out. Michael Jr. I'm pretty sure. He looks just like Dave Chappelle. He's like a clean Dave Chappelle. He's a really funny guy. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. BOOZHOO, NANABOOZHOO podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am NANABOOZHOO, and this is Natasha.
BOOZHOO!
I will see you again. GOFUNDME. You know what?
Oh, what? If you like the show, give us a thumbs up and subscribe and share it with your friends. Miigwech!